That doesn't sound good.
I actually
Oh
like
shit!
started and actually worked.
He had 10 motes on him. What?
Oh, I just one-shot body that guy. Welcome back, Guardians, to another Dream Team video. I'm your humble host, Meesum777, and I accidentally created a god tier Gambit build and a pretty solid PVE build. And I want to show it to you here. We've got some other stuff that I want to go ahead and talk about as well. We're going to jump straight into this here. As you saw by that opening clip, it is capable of being able to one-shot, body shot a Guardian if you're invading in Gambit, but that wasn't even the intention. It wasn't even my goal. My goal was to just make a really good build that can handle itself well in PvE using some technicalities, what might be considered a bug on the Borealis, and it just ended up being really good. I've got myself a really nice false promise here, which we're going to talk about here. We're going to get all into this, and also just one thing I want to throw out there, that this build, the way that it's designed, is capable of working as a, like, into other PvP builds as well. I don't have to actually sacrifice anything between switching out my armor. I can just have like my normal sets of armor work for what I'm going to do here, and I'll kind of explain when I'm do that here. Before I do go too far into this here, I just want to go ahead and give my dad here a quick shout out. He actually is in almost every single comment section. You might be able to figure out who he is. I'm not going to say who he is unless he wants it to be known, but Father's Day is around the corner, and unfortunately, due to recent events, I was not able to well, go over and fly out to him, so I wanted to kind of take a moment here and dedicate a portion of this video to him as a sort of Father's Day present. Hopefully he enjoys it. Hopefully you enjoy this, Dad. But thank you so much for everything. I am where I am. I'm the person that I am because of you. I have my values and my principles. I'm a God-centered fellow, at least I'd like to think so because of you. A lot of everything that I know in terms of combat, just even within games, came from you, and I'm grateful every single day. Like I said, you are in almost every single comment section, so you clearly have support. You're clearly supporting me here on what I'm trying to do, despite I'm sure you thinking this is a little bit of a weird occupation to end up taking up as a kind of a career path, but you know, God has blessed me in many different ways, and you have been one of those blessings, and I'm so very grateful every single day for just having you around and being able to reach out to you and talk to you. We need to call on the phone more. We need to do that more. But anyway, I love you, Dad. Happy Father's Day. I hope this isn't too awkward for you. Anyway, love you. All right, thank you for giving me that moment there, ladies and gentlemen, to thank my dad for that. So let's get back to the build here. I want to first start off by talking about this false promise that I have. This thing is pretty freaking cool. I picked this up like first. I think this was my first drop from the new Prismatic Recaster. Check this out. Ain't that neat? Ain't that the coolest thing ever? It's essentially like, in a weird way, it's like a auto rifle version, a mini auto rifle version of the Bad Juju. The role that I have here, the specific roles, the smart of you have probably figured it out, the observant of you have probably already figured it out, but it is a substance and rampage role. It's one of those things that, like, each of these individually are okay. Substance in particular is not great, but combined together, like, these two perks are really interesting. We are in fact running an anti-barrier rounds on this as well, which we're going to talk about here with the Breach Resonator. Actually gives us grenade and melee energy whenever we get kills with it. So, like I said, it's like a mini Bad Juju, except instead of it being off of kills getting you super energy, its kills give you grenade and melee energy, which is really nice. So let's talk about the rest of the build here. That's not even the bread and butter. That's just something I just wanted to sprinkle on top, you know? It's just a nice little benefit on the top. But the cool thing about this build, first and foremost, by the way, I've got a lot of things that I want to talk about. This is an intricate build. It's not complicated, but there's just a lot of moving parts, as it were, that make this cool. Once it gets rolling, though, it's very easy to understand. So forgive me if I'm a little all over the place with this one, because there is, like I said, a lot to cover. Let's start with the bread and butter combo that we're working with here. Borealis, a long forgotten exotic sniper rifle, 72 RPM. This thing is buttery smooth. The range, stability, and handling, all that feel fantastic on it. It has a few interesting traits. The sum of it is that essentially you can change between the different types of burn that it does, the different types of an arc, solar, void. You can switch between all that, and if you break a combatant shield or a shield in the crucible of a guardian and super, you'll get a round back and you'll deal bonus damage for the rest of the magazine. Now, that bonus damage will go away if you reload. Now here's the thing. Here's where our little technicality that I mentioned earlier comes into play. Sealed Ahamkara's grasps. Melee's hits reload the currently equipped weapon. It technically doesn't reload the magazine, it refills the magazine. The wording here is a bit confusing. I know that's like, well, why does it matter? Well, because if you have the bonus damage, what's called the Ionic Return on the Borealis, and you get a melee hit, just a hit, with the Sealed Ahamkara's grasps equipped, you'll refill the magazine of the Borealis, allowing you to maintain this high damage state. Ooh, pretty interesting. Now, we've got further things that you've seen from our other videos. We're going hard and fast into the Charged with Light stuff, and one of the things that we are running here is Shield Break Charge. Become charged with light by breaking a combatant's shield by matching the energy type. That's exactly what the Borealis wants to do as well. So, as soon as we break a shield, we get ourselves bonus damage both from the Ionic Return of Borealis, but also from Charge with Light. We, of course, are running high energy fire. I have them on the boots here, as you can see, with some scavengers as well, which allows us to get that bonus damage. We can be a little bit creative with this, but that's like the main bread and butter combo. And then we have other things as well, like I've got Sustained Charge, which gives me Charge with Light if I get multiple kills with anything like auto rifle, trace rifles, or machine guns, which plays perfectly into what we're doing with this auto rifle here. I've got some stuff on here as well for taking charge, which allows me to get Charge with Light if I get an Orb of Light. All ways that I can get Charge with Light. Another thing that's really interesting about this build is that it allows us to run any subclass we want. That's right, this works on any subclass. It is a subclass neutral PvE build, which is really cool in my book. I'm definitely going to be trying to make more of those going forward. I'm working on one with my Titan right now. But yeah, you can run your Night Stalker, you can run your Gunslinger, you can run your Arc Strider. It does not matter, it does not care. There is nothing in here that was requiring a specific subclass tree. Now, with that being said, I would recommend you run something that has a ranged melee so you don't have to put yourself in harm's way in order to get the Borealis to refill. But not required. If you want to run yourself into with the Arc Strider and get those close range stuff, go for it. Some things I do want to throw out here is you have to be careful not to accidentally reload the Borealis. Like if the magazine hits 0, try to keep sprinting so that you don't reload the magazine. Your character won't reload it. I do run Gambler's Dodge on every single thing that I'm running so that I can get my melee charge back. That's another thing I like. I typically end up running this with Top Tree Night Stalker for the invisibility off of the dodge. And of course, Tether's always good in PvE. And one thing as well on top of that, just as a thought, don't run any sniper rifle loaders. It'll actually hurt the build because you don't want anything that helps the Borealis to lose its bonus damage. Does that make sense? Because the Borealis loses its bonus damage off of a reload, you know, if you do that, right, if you get that reload faster, it's actually going to hurt you a little bit. There's plenty of times where I'm like very close to accidentally reloading the Borealis and losing my bonus charge. But, you know, just because it's slow enough, I'm able to stay on top of it. One thing I do want to throw out here as well, for the, like, where you can take this, you have to have a place that has relatively consistent energy shields. I took this into the new dungeon, the Prophecy dungeon, and it did not great. It wasn't terrible. I mean, the build's always pretty solid, but because I never actually got my bonus damage from my Borealis to make it into the buffed Borealis, the Borealis as I'm calling it, it never actually got its benefit. It was just an okay PvE build. It never got to the point where it was like just constantly pumping out massive points of damage on, you know, those combatants and such. So that is one thing to keep in mind if you're going into an activity that doesn't have a lot of energy shields. This isn't going to be great, so I would not recommend it in there. But other activities like Nightfalls and such, fantastic. Raids, pretty solid. Definitely would recommend it in there. So that's pretty much the gist of the build itself. Like I said, the big thing is that we're doing a lot of stuff with the charge with light. We're running taking charge, high energy fire. We're running sustain charge as well as shield break charge with the Borealis plus the sealed Ahamkara's grasps, and we're allowing the sealed Ahamkara's grasp to maintain the high charge, Ionic Return, and all that bonus damage that the Borealis gets off of popping the shield. One thing, I almost forgot. If you switch the element while the Ionic charge is active, it'll actually remove it as well because it's considered a reload. So don't do that. Just maintain whatever you've got. Like if you happen to get it in solar, just keep it on solar. But anyway, I almost forgot to throw that in there. The false promises I have here as anti-barrier round, sustained and subsidence, and rampage, which makes it really cool, but you really don't need this here. I would recommend running something anti-barrier just so that you can have that grenade and melee up more often. It plays well. As well as for big boss damage, we run the Falling Guillotine, which is absolutely insane. I could totally see you guys running Lucent Blade as well if you want to do that for higher DPS phases. But anyway, solid build. It was great at mid-range type targets, you know, majors, stuff like that. Ad clearing is pretty solid. Boss damage, it's okay. It's not the best. There are far better boss damage stuff that's out there right now. Obviously, Falling Guillotine is great, but you have to get on top of things, and there's certain bosses that you don't want to get on top of, such as the Prophecy Dungeon. So anyway, just something to keep in mind there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Go watch some of the other videos that we've done. A lot of them are freaking hilarious and they haven't gotten very many views. I'll link them in the description. They should be on the annotations on the screen right now as well. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Bless your faces. Have a happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. God bless and deuces.